just arrived at the campsite. One of the first things you want to do when pulling your trailer into your spot is find a good level ground. The primary thing you need to do first is to make sure you're level side to side. To check whether you're level side to side, use the little bullet level, and you'll see that we are slightly needing to raise the left side of the camper about 1/4 inch. Let's grab our leveling blocks and set up a pyramid to help raise the camper. Take our leveling blocks and mark where the center of the axle is. From there, we're going to create a 3-piece little pyramid. Again, the goal here is just to lift up this side of the trailer by about 1/4 inch. So you're going to mark it in the center of the axle and do the same thing on both wheels. You want to make sure they're in line with each other. So what we're going to do now is while the car is still hooked up to the trailer, we're going to move the trailer up to where the back axle passes the front platform. Once we do that, either your partner or yourself will come in, move these blocks behind the wheels, and then you're right upon them. We'll go ahead and show you that next.
So he's pulling forward just enough to get in front of the blocks. And then we're gonna move them in there. Okay, so we push those back into position, and he's gonna just back up over them. Until it gets a little bit more. Stop. Until it gets the center of the wheels.
Okay, so after you've leveled the camper left and right and using your leveling blocks, you want to come back and check your level inside the camper. And what you're looking for is to make sure the air bubble is in between the two lines here. So in this case, we are good. We don't have to do anything else with our leveling blocks from side to side. At this point, we can go ahead and disconnect the trailer from the vehicle and start working on leveling front to back. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove the trailer from the car. Make sure that the door and staircase is up to make sure that it doesn't drag or curve. Now, one of the first things we got to do is get our wheel chocks. You'll find this in the front storage compartment. There's 2 red ones. You want to put these in the front wheel. You see a little curved section here. This curved section is going to be going down. You want to put it in the front, jam it in there, and one in the back. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and grab some leveling blocks, anywhere from 4 to 5. What we're going to do is place these underneath the jack. What we're doing now is we put these leveling blocks down. We're trying to remove these anti-sway weight distribution hitch. Now, in order to do that, we've got to take the tension off of these bars onto the car. Okay, so we're extending the jack until we get the pressure off of these bars, these anti-sway bars. During this process, you want to go ahead and make sure that your chains are still hooked up, your electrical is still hooked up. The way to know that you've released the pressure off the bars is by removing these cotter pins, placing them to the side so you don't lose them. If the bar sways off, comes off easily without much pressure, then you know you're at the right height. What you're going to do, come on in closer. Okay. You're going to lift this little latch and pull it out. Go ahead and just put it underneath your trailer for storage so it's out of the way. Place your L bracket with your cotter pin so that you don't lose them. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side. During this process, we wanted to remove the other sway bar. As you notice, that this has a lot more tension on it. The reason it does is because naturally the position we're in, the trailer is putting a lot more weight to the left. So when that happens, it puts more weight on this bar. So you may have to lift and slide it off. It may not be as easy as the other side. Again, replace your L bracket, cotter pin in so you don't lose it. It might be a little tough. These are made very stiff. Same thing, lift, slide out. Okay, we can now remove the coupler from the ball. that is connected to your car. While we do that, we're going to go ahead and remove the electrical. The electrical is here. To do that, you're going to push on the cap, it releases it, and then pull it out. Go ahead and store this here in its spot. Good. We're going to do the same thing with our chains. Pull back on the latch, lift. It's got a storage on this side. Same thing on this one. Okay. At this point, go ahead and remove the cotter pin from your hitch. You're going to lift and slide it back. Lift and slide back. Once you have this little clay, once you've got that established, now what we're going to do is lift this whole trailer off of this ball, and that'll release the distribution hitch from the vehicle. We do that by extending the jack leg. Okay, you'll notice that it did release from the vehicle. If it was a push on the vehicle, you'll see that it moves a little bit. I've got our car currently in the parking brake on, so it's not going to move, but it has been released. Go ahead and lift the trailer so that you have clearance with your ball and the coupler. Okay, now that you've released your ball from the coupler, from the hitch, you want to make sure you got clearance. The next part of this is to remove your vehicle, your tow vehicle, and move it forward or put it in the parking spot that you're designated at your campsite. Before you do that, super important, please make sure that all your connections to your chains, there's 2 chains, your emergency switch off, and your electrical are all removed from the tow vehicle. Otherwise, what you'll do is you'll pull forward and you're going to pull the camper now that it's kind of established in a safe spot. So make sure you have clearance. At this point, you're free to move your car and put it in a designated parking spot. So you've removed your tow vehicle, you put it in a safe parking spot. You want to create space so that you can walk side to side and you're putting your connections on, get into your car. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that we're level front and back. Super important. You don't want to be off level when you're sleeping. It'll be very uncomfortable. So the way we're going to do that, I'm going to come again, get our little level, our bullet level. Good idea is to put it into the camper somewhere in the center, and what you'll see is that right here in this little bubble, we're off pretty significant, right? And a lot of that is because we were lifting and lowering to get off the tow vehicle. So again, you want to see it gets to the center. It's going to probably require about 1/4 inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Now to do this, you need 2 people. You can do it with 1 person, but it's definitely easier with 2. One person will be raising the jack while the other one is watching the level. Once it gets to the center, your partner will let you know, and then at that point you're good to go. Okay, so a little tip, if you notice that your bubble is not moving, sometimes by repositioning it, you'll see that it actually moves. Now we do need to increase it a little bit more. So this is where your partner will come in and say, just keep lifting, keep lifting. So at this point you'll see, raise the camera up a little bit and put it down. The bubbles in between your margins. At this point, come follow me. If you find that you're in a position where you're fully extended with your jack and you're still not level up and down, then at that point, unfortunately, you will have to hook back up and maybe find a little bit more level ground. So that's just part of taking the trailer out is really making sure you're in a level ground. So super important when you first get to your campsite, before you do anything, just walk around, find a good level spot so you know whether you need to go back, forward, side to side. We have found our spot. We went ahead and backed up. Before we unhooked our tow vehicle, we made sure we were level side to side and then front and back. At this point, once you're happy, you find that your level is in good position in multiple spots, then at this point you can start putting your stabilizers down. Okay? Your stabilizers are not meant to lift or to help level the trailer. It is simply just to barely touch the ground so that you don't wobble once you're inside the trailer. Now to do that, there's a couple things that we want to do. So inside of our storage compartment, we're going to have some leftover blocks. It's a good idea to take 4. So you're going to have 2 in the front and 2 in the back. At this point, if you have helpers like my daughters, Becca, or a spouse, or just somebody else, Go ahead and have them set these up in the 4 different spots. Emma, take this on the other. You're gonna come in the front compartment. There's a switch right here. You'll see it says retract and extend. What we're gonna do, go ahead and do the video down here, is we're gonna go ahead and extend these. Now in some cases, this leg will come down before that one. You may think to yourself it's broken, but just continue to lower this until the second one catches up. This is a good time that your helpers or your spouse or whoever can help you with this process so that you don't have to constantly be walking back and forth. Okay, you'll see that this front one actually has touched before the second one. At that point, just keep pushing down until that second, can you see the second leg?
Yeah.
Until that second leg touches as well. Okay, and just a reminder, you want to get this just to where it's got enough pressure where it's holding, but not lifting. We do not want to lift the trailer, we just want to stabilize it. Okay, so front is good. You do the same thing with the rear. Stabilizer switch is going to be found behind your bumper, your rear bumper. Again, it has the same retract and extend. Do the same thing. This is a good example. This leg right here is coming down a lot earlier than our left leg. So just keep pushing it. You'll see it kind of an uneven ground. Super important that it's hitting in the center of the block. All right. And again, you push it just enough to where it's putting pressure on the trailer, but not lifting it up. Good. Okay, so we've got level side to side, level front and back. It is stabilized. The next step is to actually put your X chocks or wheel chocks in between your wheels. This is the final part that really stabilizes the trailer so that you don't feel anything when you're inside. Okay, so the next part of this, come into the storage compartment, we're looking for our X chocks. These are going to be your wheel stabilizers. Okay, you want to make sure you grab your wrench. This tool is going to be found in the inside of the storage compartment. Super important that you do not lose this. After you're done with it, put it right back. Okay, so when you grab your X chocks, again, we're putting these X chocks in between our 2 wheels in the center of the treads. When you look at this, you'll see that it has a handle. The handle is going to be on the up part, the top part of the whole contraption. Slide it in. If it doesn't slide in at first, you can loosen it. You just keep tightening until all 4 pads are firmly seated between the wheels, between the tires. You don't want to over tighten it, you don't want to create impressions on your wheels, but just enough, a couple churns past tight. At this point, it's on, it's not moving. This is going to help the trailer really stabilize once you're on the inside. We'll do that on both wheels. We're doing this with the second X chock. Make sure these are flat, sitting on the wheels, on the tires. All right, at this point, both of your X chocks are on your tires. Again, please, please, please make sure this wrench goes back in the storage compartment. You're gonna need this when you start taking things down and get ready to go home. Okay, so you've now got to your site. You've leveled from left to right. You've leveled front to back. You've put your stabilizers on. You put your X-Chock on. You moved your tow vehicle into a safe position in the parking spot. You're now level. At this point, we wanna go ahead and get our electrical. We wanna get our sewer, if your site has it, a full hookup. We want to get our water. So let me show you where everything's at. So our electrical, you're going to find this in the front storage compartment. Just be gentle with this. It is heavy, but again, you want to be gentle with this because it does have a secure ring here that is made of kind of cheap plastic, so just don't drop it on the ground. Okay. Now with your rental, you're going to see we have 3 different dog bone adapters. Okay. This is going to be your surge protector. Super important. You're going to use this to connect to your power source, to the line, to the trailer. I'll show you this, but you want to make sure that you have this with your power source. If your campsite does not offer 50 amp service, then you want to grab this dog bone, which is a 50 to 30 conversion. Okay, so this is if your campsite that you rented doesn't have 50 amp, you just connect this, and I'll show you how to do that. And then if you happen to take your trailer home and you want to connect to your inside or outside sockets, you just connect this and it can connect to a 110 volt. When you get to your campsite, you look at your electrical post here, then open the electrical outlet box. Before you do anything, you want to make sure all your switches are off in the off position. Okay. So looking at this, you're going to see that you have a 50 amp connection, 30 amp connection, and then your normal sockets here. Okay, we're going to be using our 50 amp. You know it's 50 amp because it has 4 poles versus 3 for your 30 amp. First thing we want to do is take our surge protector. We're going to go ahead and connect this in. As a tip, one of the things that you probably want to do is go ahead and straighten out. You can use this with one of your helpers. So one of my lovely helpers, can you guys take that way? So we're going to connect it to the surge protector. Okay, and we're good. So what we're looking for now, come over here. So get right here so you can see in the shade. At this point, we're going to go ahead and flip the switch, the breaker up here. We're going to flip the switch and we're going to allow power to go through this line. What we're looking for is 3 green lights. Can you see that? The video can't see it.
It looks like 2, but they're all 3.
All 3 of them are lit up. This will give you a guide as to what's happening. If you see all 3, power's on and it's being protected. The importance behind this little contraption is if you were camping and there was a lightning strike or there was a surge of electricity through this post, if you didn't have the surge protector, it would run through our line and pretty much fry all our electronics in the trailer. So super important that you have this set up. Okay, cool. All right, we know that the electricity's grounded, everything's good here. We've got it connected to our line, so go ahead and hook up the other part to your trailer. So I'll show you how to do that. Lift it up. You're gonna see a metal connection part on your female receiver. You're gonna slide that in, slide it in, then twist. At this point, take your plastic ring and tighten. You just hand tighten enough just to hold it in place. Unfortunately, this does have a little crack in it, so you don't really need to tighten it much. Close it, and you're good. At this point, your trailer now has electricity running through it. If you're using this thing during the summertime, this is a good time to go ahead and turn on your AC. You want to get that going so that you're not walking into a hot trailer. Your fridge should be running already, but now it transfers over to electric versus just gas. Okay, next step, we need to set up our water and we need to set up our sewage. Okay, so we're going to be setting up our sewage and our water. This is our storage compartment. This is a pass-through storage, so you can access it on both sides. All of our sewage and our water will be on the driver's side of the trailer. Okay, so you can go ahead and lift it. It's got a magnetic hold, so you don't need to hold that. Okay, our sewage and gray water connections are going to be found in this gray tub. Super important that you keep things separate. You don't want to contaminate either one. This is our freshwater box. Okay, we'll set up our water first. Okay. So our fresh water, what we're going to do is use our white hose. Again, have one of your helpers extend it, make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. Then within the kit, you want to get your pressure regulator, your valve split, and then your water filter. Okay. What we're going to do is going to connect this to our city water and then connect that hose to our connections. The reason we're using this pressure regulator is a lot of times these city or campsites will have unregulated pressure on these things, and if you have too much water coming in at a high pressure, again, it can blow out some of your components in the trailer. So super important that when you set up the water, make sure you put this contraption on first. Filter. So if you've set up the water from the spigot, you want to make sure it looks like this. Again, your pressure regulator, your valve split, your water filter, your fresh water connection hose, which again is going to be the white hose. Then we're going to take this part. Okay. And we're going to connect it to the trailer. The way we do that is we have a little pass-through compartment here. We're going to run it from underneath. We're going to run this to our city water connection with our 90-degree elbow. There. All right, at this point, your water is now connected. You can go ahead and turn on. Make sure that these valves are in off position and the one that you're wanting the water source to come through is in an on position.
How do you know if it's off or on?
Okay, so on the actual elbow split, you'll see a little indicator here that shows on is going to be if the valves are open or pushed inward. You can also see that the little ball, you can see that or not, closes and opens. Okay, so we want to make sure this isn't off, otherwise you're going to spray yourself. And this one is on.
Never done that before.
Okay, turn your water. And you can hear the water running through your system. Some things you want to be watching for is just make sure it's not leaking. Now this is all waterproof contained unit, so it won't get into the camper, but just as you know, so you don't have a nuisance and mud all over your camper, make sure that you do have good, secure, tight connections. Okay. Okay, so we've now set up our water. If you're at a full hookup campsite, so this is going to be full hookup, meaning you got water, you have electric, and you have sewage. Then the next step we're going to do is set up our sewage connection to our. So one of the first things we want to do when we're dealing with sewage is make sure we have gloves. Okay, so we're going to take our black water bucket. So this is your sewer outlet connection. So you get down here, I'll show you what these valves are. So you have a gray handle and a black handle, and then the main drain. The gray, this is your gray water tank. This is a connection or valve that opens up your gray water tank. So things like your sink for hand washing, for dishes, and shower. Correct. All of this is controlled by this handle. This black handle is your sewer, so your black stuff. So your toilet, pretty much your toilet. Exactly. You want to make sure this is both of these are in the closed position. First thing we want to do is take our little snake. We use this to help facilitate kind of gravity and our hose that's going to get connected down to our sewer connection. So you want to just take this little snake thing. It is a very fragile kind of piece, so if you're rough with it, it can break. So gently make sure that it's in a position where you can put your hose on there. There are two pieces to this, so if you find that it's not long enough, then you can adjust it as necessary. So Becca, you want to make sure that part is straight. Yes, that's correct. Next part we want to do is take our hoses. Now, this is an important thing I'm going to tell you, and you may want to kind of, when you're making a decision on where you're parking your trailer, have an idea how far your sewage is from your sewage connection. Okay, we are about 10 to 12 feet, which should be within reach of our two connections. However, if we're any further than that, we may need to consider moving our trailer up so that we're not past what our hose can get to. Okay, come on down. Okay, now, word to the wise. We're about to remove the cap from our sewer connection. There is a lot of times residual fluids that may come out, so please just be careful. Make sure you're not directly in front of it. Again, you want to make sure that both handles are pushed in so that if there was anything left over, it's not coming out at you. We've got our hose extended, we've measured it out, looks like it's going to fit. At this point, we want to go ahead and remove the cap. Good. Now within our little bucket, we're going to find that we have a 90-degree clear elbow joint. Super important. You want to go ahead and put this connection to the end of your hose, and then this elbow, clear elbow, connects to the trailer. Again, super important if you have a full hookup. Kind of helps monitor when you're emptying things to make sure that you have a continuous flow. You can kind of see the water running through it. It's also really good when you're cleaning out the trailer. You're going to flush the black tank. It kind of gives you a good indication whether your water is turning clear or if you still have a lot of waste inside. Okay, so we're connected here, nice and tight. In our bag, you're going to find a threaded coupler connection. Okay, the reason it's threaded, and you can kind of see here, it's got 3 different sizes. A lot of times these parks will have different size connections on this. You'll see that this is one of the larger ones. This is connecting at the last ring. So again, you want to put it in. It just sits in, it doesn't twist or anything, just sits in there and nice and tight. Okay, at this point, you are connected from your trailer to the wastewater dump. Just check your hose to make sure that it's in a downward sloping, you want to make sure that you have gravity helping you bring your water and your liquids to this.
Just need to fix that over there.
Exactly. Okay. Good. Okay. So at this point, you should be all connected. You have your trailer stabilized, leveled. You have your water hooked up. You have your electricity hooked up, and now you're hooked up with your sewer. So you are good to go.